Surprise! I'm down here. Welcome, my Greeks and barbarians, to Byzantine Music 0, Week 4, Rhythm Modifiers and Other Special and Super Fun Neumes that contradict everything that we've learned so far. Not exactly, but not exactly not either. If you haven't checked out Unit 3, probably go watch that first. And then you can come and take a look at this. But we will kind of overlap it a little bit. So this is probably going to be a pretty short lesson, but it's got a lot of stuff to kind of digest. So you'll have all week to kind of lose your mind over this. Let's go. So we have several symbols that change the rhythm of the music that we're singing in Byzantine music. If you don't have any of these symbols, everything's just going to be beat, 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 beat. And unlike Western music, they don't write time signatures so much as they just kind of group certain amounts of notes and neumes into like groups of 3, 4, 2, 5, and 6 with just little lines. And they don't say 3, 4, they just say 3, or they'll say 5, or whatever. So the first one we're going to look at is the GORGON. It's a little boomerang. It's a lot smaller than that. I just blew it up. And what it does is it combines surrounding neumes into a single beat. Welcome to the chaos. So if we just read these 4 ison neumes, it'll just be ni, 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 right? Same length each time. If we put a gorgon in there, we actually take the note that it's on and the note behind it, and you split them in half, and they fill the space of one beat. So now you have ta, 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 ta. Ni, 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 ni. And it's always the note that it's on and the note before it. You can move it anywhere. So now this is ta, 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 ta. Ni, 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 ni. Pretty basic. If you put 2 of these little boomerangs on top of each other, you get what's called a DIGORGON. And the DIGORGON works just like the GORGON, but instead it creates a group of 3. And those 3 get split into one beat. So instead of going ta, 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 like we did here, it's ta, 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 like that. Make sense? Ta, 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 ta. Ni, 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 ni. And if you add another one, you get a TRIGORGON, which makes a group of 4. Do, 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 1, do, 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 do. I've got a really big delay on this mic, so it's hard to do articulations very well. Anyway, now we have the dotted gorgon, or the gorgon me APLI. I'm not going to expect you to nail these. They always tend to be reserved for more advanced students. But why not? Why not let you know just how crazy this stuff gets? So let's take a look at this. What happens here? It works like a gorgon, but then it weighs one of the notes a little heavier and adds duration to it. Specifically, it doubles the duration of it, but in a ratio with the other notes. So get ready to do some math. So as we showed here, the gorgon splits 2 notes and puts them into one beat. The TRIGORGON takes 3 notes and puts them into one beat equally. If we have a regular gorgon with a dot, it's basically saying now we have this note taking the space of 2, this note taking the space of 1, and we're dividing that total into the beat. So it becomes a triplet with the first note, whichever side the dot is on, is twice as long. I hope that makes sense. So in this case, it's ta, 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 ta. So ta, 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 ta. If I'm going to count triplets, triplet, 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 da, 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 that's what it's going to sound like. And vice versa. Da, 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 da. All right, and we're back. So the dotted digorgo, in the same way that the dotted regular gorgo changes it from being a group of 2 into a beat into a group of 3, but with an extra beat added to one of the notes, making it a triplet figure. The dotted digorgo changes from being a 3 notes into 1 beat into basically 3 notes, but then one of the notes has an extra bit of duration added to it. So this will have 1 unit, and 2 units, which makes 4. So then it becomes 4 units into 1 beat. And the first note, if the dot on the left is on the left of the digorgo, will go there, which will be like this. Da, 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 da. And if you want it to go here, you go like that, and it goes da, 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 with the dot on the center. And then if the dot's on the right hand side, it's da, 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 da. Make sense? Didn't think so. But that's how it works. And also, yeah, it's always on the second note of the grouping. Why? I don't know. So now we have the KLASMA. We're going to get into some symbols that mean that they slow down and they lengthen the length of notes. So the KLASMA adds a beat to a neume. Easy peasy. So if we put a KLASMA on this last one, it adds another quarter note duration to the quarter note, making it a half note. Ni, 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 da, da, da. Pretty simple, huh? Easy peasy. You can also put it on multiple different types of notes. Sometimes it'll be above or below, but if you see it, it always means you add a beat. Vupani. Make sense? Good. So now we have the dot, the APLI. So the dot, guess what it does? It also adds a beat to a neume. Great. So that can also be written like that. Vupani. Why? I don't know. But the cool thing about the dot, well, the more versatile thing about the dot is you can add more. However many as you want. Nobody's counting. Do 3, 4, 5, 6 APLIs. You're fine. Add a bunch. Go nuts. Just put dots all over the page. And what it'll do is it'll keep adding 1 beat to whatever the note is. So if it's 2, it adds 2 beats, making the total length 3/4 notes, which gets represented as a dotted half. Because that's what the mathematical equivalent is, if you've been paying attention to Western Music Zero. Now we have the ADIGON. It's kind of an interesting character because you don't see it in a lot of different situations, mostly in this upcoming situation I'm going to show you. But it works like a GORGON and a KLASMA combined. So, but what does that mean? It means that it puts a GORGON in here and causes these kendimata to be sung quickly with the ison before. ni pa vu, and then it causes the oligon to have the duration of however many of these little handles the autogon has. So if it has two, if it just goes zig zag, then it's ni pa vu, 2 beats, zig zag. But if it goes zig zag zig, zig zag zig, and if it has 4, like it's a full 2 symbol autogon, the autogon, ni pa vu, like that. Ni pa 1, 2, 3, 4. You get a full 4 beats. So ni pa vu 2. That's this one. If it's one more handle, ni pa vu 2, 3. Oops, sorry. Did I do that right? Yeah, I did. Ni pa 2, 3. And then if there's a full 2, it's ni pa vu 2, 3, 4, which you do see. So all you do is you count it. 1, 2, and then if there's 2 of those stacked up on top of each other, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And if there's only 1.5, then you say ni pa vu 2, 3. Hopefully that makes sense. I told you this is going to be a short lesson, so here we are with rhythm combinations. So if you combine a KLASMA and a GORGON, the length of the KLASMA is still preserved. It's still 2 full beats. But the GORGON steals the last half of the second beat. So this becomes ni, 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 like that. So this would, if this wasn't even here at all, this would just be ni, ni. So you think of it basically as the first beat is what it would be like without any of this. Or you could visualize having another ison back here as di, 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 but those 2 are tied together. And it's represented like this. Dotted quarter, 8th note. Di, di, di. Pretty simple. Just like how the APLI is redundant in other ways, if you see an APLI and a GORGON like this, it creates the same dotted quarter and 8th note thing. Pay no attention to this little candy cane thing there. That's called nandikenoma, but you're not going to be looking at that until you go with a teacher that teaches you about ornamentation and stuff, because that's kind of a symbol that lends itself to a bit of ornamentation. But we're just going to read it dry. And this is way off. This shouldn't be ni and vu. This should be ba and vu. But anyway. But as you can see, it's the same thing. It still takes a full 2 beats, but the second beat is stolen by the GORGON at stage right. And finally, our special neumes, the boroi. That's 2 descending notes in succession on the same syllable. Da. That should be a vu. But you usually see it with a GORGON, and it becomes da. The SYNECHES ELAPHRON is the same thing, but you use it when you're going to have a new syllable. And this is how I was able to kind of remember this. This ELAPHRON is really all that's happening intervallically in the notation. And this is just a symbol to let you know that you should fill in as you execute the ELAPHRON. So if you remember, the ELAPHRON is going down to Nizoke, but you just go Nike. It's a direct third. Da-da. If you have the SYNECHES ELAPHRON, you don't go Voni. You would add the filler note in between and fit it still into the 2 beats. Vupani, Vuni. And as you can see here, this is what you would do if you had 2 different syllables. Da, da. And just as a little addendum, are stack combinations. You may remember that I said that a oligon kendimata is always read from the bottom up. So kendimata first and the oligon. Why did I say that? Because if you have a gorgon on one of these stack figures, it's read as though the gorgon is over the kendimata. So this becomes nipavu. And that's what it looks like if you unstack it. Like I said, the kendimata are first. So this oligon is at the end. The gorgon goes on the kendimata first and affects this ison behind it. Nipavu. If it's the other way around, the kendimata are afterwards, so it affects the oligon instead. If I unstack this, it looks like that. Nipavu. Make sense? And that's it. It's a very short lesson, but it's a lot of stuff. When we come in next week, we're going to look at enharmonic and hard chromatic modes, which are most compatible with Western music because they agree mostly with the piano and all that. We'll read a couple things, and yeah, then we'll start going through each mode. Looking forward to finally getting into reading some notation with y'all. And if y'all have any questions, I'm going to stick around just for like another 5 minutes on mute. Go ahead and ask in the chat. And we'll see you either at our rehearsal live video coming up in a few hours, or tomorrow's live rehearsal video, or next week. Thanks for sticking around and learning a couple of crazy things about this notation. Cheers.